It's actually happy ComicCon day. Thought I had a pass. Things happen, and apparently I don't have a pass. Screwed up registration. Um, so something I'd like to discuss is our fascination with like villains, heroes, and villains, and then how these are usually, how they're usually described and how they're presented, uh, like in our films and our stories and whatnot. Generally, like if you really kind of look, like a lot of villains, whether it's you're talking like Skynet from Terminator or some of the villains from the Marvel universe, they're depicted as like an individual that has overwhelming force, or a group, but usually kind of ends up being a at the top like an individual who is trying to have like absolute subjugation. I'm sure I'm messing up that word. Um, you do as I say. Do as I tell you. Behave in this manner, or you're dead. You're gone. Um, and always like on the superhero end, the hero end. It's always like we have all this mixture of variety working together to defeat this massive, overbearing uh, entity. So it's funny. So we we have a habit of our greatest fears is being controlled, being saying no, you don't get to do this, because you're you have to bend the knee, you have to, you know, bow down to me or be destroyed. And then ultimately it's like, well, all my friends here, we collectively disagree with you, and therefore we are coming in to defeat you, knock you out. Um, and it says it's funny. If you see the excitement in people like from some of these movies, like one of my favorite quotes is from the Black Panther movie, and it's from like the leader, T'Challa. Sorry, but Wakanda, and here it is. Wakanda can no longer watch from the shadows. We cannot. We must not. We will work to be an example of how we, as brothers and sisters on this earth, should treat each other. Now, more than ever, the illusions of division threaten our very existence. We all know the truth. More connects us than separates us. But in times of crises, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers, or walls. We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe. It's a powerful statement, and you think about it, and you go out, you go out in the world, we all make, sorry, decisions, calculating this risk and reward. Is this a fight? Is this fight in front of me? Am I able to tackle it? The fight could be, the homeless on the street. Um, is the fight rewarding enough for me to, am I willing to take up this torch and be able to, take up this fight? Am I capable? Am I, you know, I'm just going to use it's the wrong terminology. I'm going to say like, do I have the desire, to, help this individual, to raise them up, to make sure is fed, help them, help this person like resolve their issues and help them, back into civilization as a whole, instead of just, being on the outskirts, so to speak, just trying to survive, doing whatever it is they understand. There's a couple other funny quotes. Shoot, I lost it. Hold on. Oh, this is said by somebody who I feel has had a complete change in perspective. I'm not going to tell you who did these quotes. You can look them up. You can Google them. So, but it's the same person. If you're born poor, it's not your mistake, but it's your. But if you die poor, it's your mistake. Um, then the second one is we make the future sustainable when we invest in the poor, not when we insist on their suffering. least from my perspective, these are completely different, like polar opposite ideas. Just like it's just you can see like, oh, the perspective has gone, changed. So when I went on this whole quest of trying to solve this this problem, or what I'm calling a problem, because I want to create a system that is able to emulate, so not just emulate, but like actually is, what I see, to be able to do like an indirect bartering system. That was the whole thing. Like the title of this paper that I just started writing is called "Survival of the Fittest versus Survival of the Most Competitive, Cooperative." Sorry. It's like the birth of the Crodat, an indirect bartering / currency system. So this is kind of where I started tackling and wrestling with my ideas. Like, what is, it's an essay on competitive and cooperative currencies and what it means. Never finished it, but I started writing a lot. I just kept looking for instances where high competition versus high cooperation. One thing that I really looked at was Darwin, survival of the fittest. That's a proven theory, and it works. But when you think of it in terms of like the smallest and seemingly most cooperative organisms on the planet, versus us, it gets really more interesting. So if you think about, our problems, our tackles, what we tackle every day, or our opponents, they're not much larger than us, in perspective. So if you look at, like, say, the size ratio of like a bacteria or virus to a human, and you kind of like, what would that, what kind of opponent would we be facing, if we had to face the same odds? My math is probably wrong, but this is what I came up. I first of all established the moon is roughly 384.4 k. I'm just gonna say it, 384,400 kilometers far from Earth. Now, just shove that away. Now imagine if we're competing against the opponent's size. That's a size ratio of like 1.2 bacteria versus a 1.856 meter human. When you do that ratio check, is essentially like we're going up an opponent that is 2,871 kilometers large. However the ratio would, but like at least the height, or whatever. Or if you look at like a 120 nm virus versus size virus versus again a 1.856 meter human, this would be roughly an opponent that's 1.856 million kilometers large, or roughly 5 times as large as the moon is far. And a virus or bacteria that infects us, and is able to conquer us, that's the power of the most cooperative. So just imagine if we were able to cooperate, able to cooperate like an altruistic system, like a bacteria or a virus, which I consider an altruistic system. Really, what I'm defining as, so that's huge if you think in that kind of thing. So we have one of our major dilemmas for us to exist. We have diseases out there called superbugs, antibiotic resistant organisms that cooperate based on genetic rules to collectively defeat us. They've made in terms of the arms race, these are organisms that have rendered our methods of war ineffective, our current ones. So that's the power of the survival of the fittest. Those bacteria have been able to evolve to to move around that, our form of attack with it. That, yeah. Anyways, shoot. So that's just it. It's we're drawn to. We get really excited about cooperation on film, cooperation in books, and like the collective good. but in real life, we don't. Some do. Like after John Nash is kind of this his reinvention of modern economics came about. You see things like major, large, the big kids on the block like cooperating together. Say, look, if we don't cooperate, we are cancer essentially. We'll just eat each other. Kind of like, I'll come back to that. So like we come to an agreement that we will not, even though we are cancer, we won't eat each other. We will cooperate and coexist. Say like banks, um, you know, they cooperate, and their cooperation is we will not, we will make sure we do an assessment, like a fitness test on, each individual before or entity before we create money out of thin air, you know. And so the agreement is we'll make sure that for the good of the system, so that we're able to continue this position, we'll just, we all agree to have these balance and measures, this proof of work that shows that this individual is able to return the principal and the interest being bestowed upon them by this entity. You also have like a lot of stories like big companies like Microsoft, Facebook, Google, and all that. They're anti-competitive. Like the anti-competitive things, which is highly illegal, and they were hit on the top of their head on this, but so they don't poach their employees. Google won't go after Facebook employees, and Microsoft won't go after Google employees or Facebook employees, and so on and so forth. You can throw an Apple in there too. But again, like, we don't benefit from that. The engineers definitely do not benefit from that. So, but we all fight against each other. Like us engineers will like, well, he wants this hourly rate. Well, I'm gonna do less. Screw it. Why not? And then what that does, it gets people like me less interested in helping you, and less interested in your dreams to help you see them through. These billion-dollar companies complaining about pennies, but they want me to, and us engineers to build out all their dreams. Make them stronger. It's go back to your do no evil roots, Google, and roll back all those changes, all the changes you've done in the past few years on maps. Get rid of them. They're horrible, really, really bad. It's made the application maps like almost, it's painful to use now. Anyways, not to get sidetracked. So the natural behavior of what allows these companies to thrive is lack of competition between each other, or at least an agreement saying, these are things that will hurt us if we do these actions, so therefore we will not do these actions to each other. Do no harm, do no evil, all those fun things. But screw all of us. So again, just look at film, look at books, all that. We are, we embrace it. We embrace cooperation. It's natural to us. But every day, it's against the altruistic problem. Is that no one is truly altruistic. It can't be, because we pick and choose our fights based on the risk and reward. As I just new person I learned last night, the Halden, as he expressed by legend, or whatever, that unless less is enough, we'll hear. So like some of his thought things was, what would cause you to risk your life? Maybe 8 cousins that jump in the river, but not 7. Like I don't know, maybe not. Save a dog. Like the house on fire, and there's only another dog in there. Maybe that's enough to throw your life in. dogs are amazing, so I can understand that. But maybe if there was a dog and a kid in there, or maybe they wouldn't even just go if it's just one kid. Maybe it was the combination of the dog and the kid that said, "Oh, this is important enough for me to risk my life and be altruistic and go in there and save." The dog and the kid. But that is the dilemma. We don't make these assumptions together. We just always, because it's hard. It's difficult to do that. You need a scoring system or a third party that can say, yes, the uh, the Darwinism score, the score of this person behaving following these certain contracts. Kind of going back to what it is. So if we have like a construct agreement of a construct saying we whenever we're working in this certain system, if we behave in all in the same way, the and you do continually to adhere to those rules, your score goes up for that system, that contract type. So those that end up being working in this my cooperative currency, once it's implemented, the more they cooperate and adhere to the rules that spending, we're all advantaged to spending for healthier circulation, then we will all gain as a result. So the score goes up. Even when there's evolution on a particular contract type. Let's say it could be again as subtle as my cooperative currency is now accepting interaction for this new neural transmitter or this new contract. It's like, oh, okay, well, I have to accept it. Is there a risk? Does the work calculate? Does the work and the math work out the same from the old version of the contract to the new version of the contract? Yes. Therefore, it's like a low risk because it adds up. And you can see like what is this new mutation, and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's acceptable, and boom, I accept it. And then so like the next time you issue a contract in that cooperative currency with the evolved contract, it'll prompt the next person, which again, it's accepted or it's not. The more it's accepted, the accumulation of the acceptance of the people in that their scores will, once it defeats like the that new contract version, once it gets a high enough score to defeat the contract the score, the Darwinism score of the old contract style, then therefore the newer one is wholly accepted by the system. It beat its score, the old score. So it follows that I'm just gonna say Halden's evolution of Darwin's theory of evolution. Thus the altruistic problem. It's a funny thing, isn't it? Anyways, enjoy ComicCon. Enjoy today. It's beautiful here in San Diego. I hope too many people don't move here because I want this all to myself. Well, plus the people that here, but come to visit. It's beautiful here. I just don't want to get too busy. I don't want it to turn into LA. I hate LA. So, anyways, enjoy your day. Talk to you later. Bye.